All right, welcome back. We're going to do some more GitHub. We'll do Codespaces this time. Um, my dog is now inside, so you'll occasionally hear her tail wagging, I think. She wags loudly. All right, let's get to work. So going into my repository, I got to fix this because the link's not working. It used to show, I used to proudly show off my my B- that I had on GitHub. I was pretty proud of that. So I want to be able to see my stats for sure. I think most of the time you folks are, there we go. This is the kind of stuff you'd look at, right? So you've got your contributions kind of showing, if you did something on GitHub on a given day. So here is 4, 59, 77, mostly commits. I should have more code review issues and pull requests, but we won't worry about that. Commits are what you're going to spend 90% of your time on, at least in the early classes. Looks like I just made some new repos, so I could scroll way back. So a lot of information there. I set this in a special repo to have my information. Let's go in and I'm going to work on some C++ code. This will apply the same for you if you're doing Python, except that the code will look a little bit different. So my class is, there we go. I've got a bunch of repositories, but I'm going to look at the one that I used for last semester because I won't really be breaking anything there. Okay, if you are using Codespaces to write code, you are couch surfing on someone else's computer. That's all it is, right? So it's like an MMO. You're going to log into the server, do your stuff there, and jet when you're done. I don't have any Codespaces right now, so I'm going to press Create Codespace on main, main being the main branch of our repository. For most of the time, at least starting off, you'll only have main as a branch. This is going to open a separate window, and I'm much happier when it does, because if you lose this window, you got to reopen it, because you cannot take this link and submit it anywhere. It will not do anything. This link is only valid while you are doing what you are doing right now. So just remember that. If you give me a link that says github.dev, I'm going to give you a 1, because I know when I click that link, nothing comes up. And in fact, most likely when you submit the link, if you were to go back and check 5 minutes later, you'll also notice that nothing comes up. So as I said in the last video, if you want to give somebody a file, let's go to my, my little simple assignment here. Here's my file, great. So I would take this link up here and submit that. That's simple. But for now, let me go back to the top of the repository. You can see I have a bunch of different folders. Now my Codespace is finished loading. It takes like about a minute. The first thing I usually do is I go down to this gear. Once it finishes loading, I pick a theme and do color theme. I'm going to pick let's go for I'll go for dark plus. That sounds good, right? Or if I don't like that, I can change back to any of the other ones. There's lots of other themes as well. We'll go for the GitHub dark. Great, these are all kind of the same. So you'll notice with some of these, you get different colors. I'm going to go into one of my files and I'm going to, I better make a new file to show you instead. So I'm going to I'll go over here. I'll click over here and I'm going to hit plus for new file. And I'll call it test.cpp or test.py if it's a Python program, right? So I've made that file. It's going to open up here. And what do I see? So, check your 6, watch your corners. If you don't see this pop up and don't click it, nothing else will happen. You're done. So when this comes up, I say, yes, I am using C++. Why, thank you. I would like Microsoft to install that extension. VS Code, which is all Codespaces is, just Codespace on somebody else's Linux machine. It's going to install for a minute. I'm just going to close that because it's going to install fine. And then I need type of program. So just, I don't care about using the pre-release version either way. So I'll say no. Good. Okay. So, all right. For this video, assume you know C++ already, right? So I'm going to get a little bit bigger. Command plus or Control plus will you can also use your mouse wheel, make your code bigger. This is very hard to read, so I'm going to try a different theme. A lot of this is just getting everything comfortable to what you want. Let's try dark modern. Yeah, it's much better. Good. Okay. So on the side here, I have a bunch of things. I've got my files, and here's my file. I can click on that. I could search. I could do source control, which says there's one new file, one pending change. This is, all this other stuff. We're going to worry about it later. So I'm going to go to this and say pound include stream So if I did this in Python, the video would be 30 seconds. So let me just do a little program here and say void main. Okay, there we go. So one thing you notice is, depending on your theme, if I'd forgotten a quote, what would have happened? This would have looked different. So sometimes the colors really help me out. And I'll just say here, exit 0, no errors. Good. So that's a very short C++ program. You don't have to type it in yourself. The equivalent in Python would be, let's say this. So Python equivalent is, yep. If you just want to say hello world, that's the whole program in Python. So here we got to do a little setup. All right, so I'm going to press the button here. Going to run this program. It's going to do some things. It's going to set up the extension. All right, I got an error, so I want to say don't debug anyway. Show errors. All right, look at that. Return 0. Very silly of me. I wanted to exit with a return code. So this message actually, it's like, well, it has to return int. A lot of times your problems aren't going to make sense to you until you know what it's trying to say. So what happened here is I just typed the wrong word. My brain was thinking return and I typed exit because I was probably saying exit to you guys at the same time. So that's a bug fixed. Let's hit run again. And what okay. So I always want to show errors. I don't want to debug anyway because, like, okay, if the program runs and it doesn't match what you're seeing here, then you can't fix it. That'd be like troubleshooting somebody's car after the error happened. Main must return int. Of course, silly me. So I'm doing all kinds of things wrong, right? So main has to return int. So pretend that nonsense didn't happen and I typed the program in the first time, but it's the beginning of the semester. I'm going to make a million mistakes. Everybody does. Mistakes are just exercise. Chance to learn. Okay, that looks like that finished, so it's going to chug a little bit. You want to be on the terminal so you can see what's going on. So sometimes the first time it's going to do all this big chug over here. Switch back to terminal so you can see it. And it says, hello GitHub, thank you for your cooperation. Now I'm going to add just one more thing. I'm going to do cout down blank line so it looks nicer. Easy enough. I'm going to save that. I think it's Control S. And I'm going to hit run again. Good. Third time's the charm. That's my program. So the program is done, and I could turn this in. Well, what would I do? Well, I mean, of course, I could download the file. You want to right-click, download this file. You can totally do that. But let's do it the right way. Let's do it the way that we have been working with GitHub. So over here, I'm going to put a message. What we did? I said made test CPP to show code space activity. I was like, this is how it works. So you have to put something here. Guess what? You always have the ability to put dot, okay? If you're the kind of person who throws away all the manuals for your devices and then has to search online frantically to figure out how it works, then feel free to put dot. But I would highly recommend you always write in the spot that gives you a reason for what you changed. You should write what you changed and probably why. I'm going to hit commit. Again, commit means you put it in a box. Now we need to sync, which is called pull a lot of times, right? Or push, sorry, push. Push and pull, so that's sync. And it says there's one file going up to the server. So push that button, okay? Now I may have just lost some of you. Some of you folks had a pop-up that said, do you want to stage this? Yes, you want to stage it. You have to stage in order for the button to come up for the next step, right? So at some point I had said yes to all or always, and I don't want to try to undo that, but if it says before you can hit commit, do you want to stage these changes? You say yes, because that's what you're doing. Staging them is putting them in the box. Commit is sending them off to GitHub, and you're good. So now I can close this window. All right. If you close this window and you didn't commit your code is sitting on this Linux server and nowhere else. So, you can probably get it back in a day or two. It'll keep your old code spaces and wake them back up. But generally, I like to commit my code to make sure that it's actually in my repository. We did that, and now we go back to these other files. Let's go back to our actual repo, and I got to hit refresh because this is just a static web page. And when I do, well, what do I see? I see test.cpp. And here's the program I wrote. So I got it out of the code space, right? And again, remember, if you give me this link, you get 1 point out of 100 because that link only works while I have this window open on this machine. It won't even work like in a different browser because you have to be logged in. So when you've committed it and pushed it, it's just on your regular public repo that everybody can see, which is for a reason, right? You want people to know what you've done. Like, you wouldn't, if somebody was looking for you to look for a job, you'd say, I don't want to show you my resume. That's got a lot of personal information on it. You probably want to show them, that you're skilled to do the job. So you want to have your code in public repositories. I've got this here. Again, I take that link, copy it, paste it to Canvas, and I am good. All right, I really hope this is helpful. And like I said, always just email me or contact me on Canvas if something doesn't make sense. Thank you for your cooperation.